but in general, I just didn't like the discipline. I think more than anything, the discipline.
A lovely phrasal verb in that case. You didn't like teachers telling you off. And to tell someone off is like to punish almost in a verbal way. If somebody misbehaves, then maybe your parents or teachers will tell you off and say, hey, that was very bad of you. Make sure you don't do that again. Which in Spanish is kind of like reñir. Me ha
Uh,
reñido.
I've heard echar la bronca as well, to echar la bronca. Yeah, like, because even as adults, your boss or your supervisor can tell you off. Even a client could tell you off if you're offering a service and they're not happy. They could tell you off. Yeah. So, hello, welcome everybody. Me and Lewis are back again for our second podcast episode, where today we're going to be talking about back to school. We're a little bit late, Lewis. I think I think back to school was last week, but we're going to talk about it today. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I was born ready. And yeah, I'm happy to speak about school because school, it's a nice topic. We work as teachers, although we don't work in a school. So we're kind of related, but not exactly. And well, we're a bit late. I guess we're not very punctual people because now recording this towards the end of September, maybe we missed the boat. We missed the opportunity. But hey, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I think we may have missed the boat, but better late than never, I think, is a good way to think about it. Better late than never, sorry. I don't know about you, but I hated school when I was a kid.
Oh,
But then
wow.
as an adult, I realized how amazing it actually was and how lucky we were to spend every day with our friends without bills and rent to worry about. But when I was at school as a kid, I personally hated it. I don't know how you felt.
I mean, I think I loved it. I mean, I look back on school and think, wow, school was great. And it's true that I was always not the smartest child in the class, but I was always smart enough to pass all of my exams. I
I
didn't
can see that, yeah.
like, I was kind of just above average, which kind of defines me in many, many ways, where I didn't have too many issues with different subjects. I got on quite well with everybody. Get on well with, by the way, llevarse bien. You can say get on with and get along with, but get on with is a little bit more British. But genuinely, I don't think anything bad happened at school. Maybe I have selective memory and I've chosen not to remember these things. But
Yeah.
genuinely, at school, I was like, wow, I'm so lucky. I don't have to work. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
I don't think I comprehended the idea of work when I was there. Maybe that's why I hated it. But I do agree. I was also an all rounder, someone who is average or a bit better than average at a lot of things, but not amazing at any one specific thing. I was an all rounder. I don't know if there's a Spanish expression for that. Lewis, you can help me. Obviously, in English, it comes from baseball. Someone who is good at hitting the ball, someone who is good at catching the ball, someone who is good at bowling or pitching, sorry, in baseball. So, yeah, I don't know if you know a Spanish expression for an all rounder.
I'm not sure if there is a specific noun that I can think of, but basically it's alguien que tiene buen rendimiento en todas las asignaturas o que juega bien en todas las posiciones. But let us know in the comments if you can think of a better translation for an all-rounder, then you can teach us whilst we teach you. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's a win-win, a win-win.
Exactly. And in your case, you said that you hated school. Like, what was it about school that you hated? Was it the teachers? Was it your classmates? Was it the homework? What was it?
The teachers and the homework and the schoolwork, I think. Yeah, I
Everything.
was a rebellious teenager. I didn't like being told what to do and when to do it. But I loved break time, which in British English we say break time, el descanso, in American English, recess. But yeah, playing football. Obviously, today, me and Lewis are going to talk about our favorite and least favorite subjects. So I don't want to talk about it too much now. But yeah, there were some subjects which I really enjoyed. But in general, I just didn't like the discipline. I think more than anything, the discipline.
A lovely phrasal verb in that case. You didn't like teachers telling you off. And to tell someone off is like to punish almost in a verbal way. If somebody misbehaves, then maybe your parents or teachers will tell you off and say, hey, that was very bad of you. Make sure you don't do that again. Which in Spanish is kind of like reñir. Me ha reñido.
Us I've heard echar la bronca as well, to echar la bronca. Yeah, like, because even as adults, your boss or your supervisor can tell you off. Even a client could tell you off if you're offering a service and they're not happy. They could tell you off. Yes, a very good phrasal verb.
And there's one more thing that I want to go over before we begin with the joke of the week and also our ranking of favorite and least favorite subjects at school. And it is related to what we discussed last week. Because last week we were going over our most common mistakes that we see in our students of Spanish speakers speaking English. And one that I didn't remember, but now has just come to me, is when you want to say in Spanish, like, quiero que hagas esto. Or, for example, me gustaría que hicieras lo otro. Or another one, necesito que me ayudes. So this typical structure of like, I want that you, I would like that you, or I need that you is so much simpler in English. Chris, do you want to give me a hand? How would you say these phrases in English?
So most of the time, we just use the infinitive verb. I would like you to do your homework. I would like to eat breakfast. So yeah, we don't have this subjunctive espero que te ayude. No, it's very, very simple in English most of the time. Just the pronoun, I would like you, and then the infinitive verb to do something. What about in the negative?
Oh, in the negative, I don't want you to. So I don't want you to misbehave. Or I don't need you to help me. So it's the same, really. We just use the negative at the beginning. So yeah, if you've ever wondered about this or ever said, I want that you go, bear in mind it is, I want you to go.
Perfect. I think it's the literal translation, isn't it? Yeah, me gustaría que. So it's I would like that. Yeah.
Exactly, a nightmare. But
Yes. Yeah.
let's hear a joke because I think a lot of people who listened to the podcast last week were like, wow, Chris has such amazing jokes. This is probably the reason they are tuning in today to watch or listen to another episode. So hopefully, Chris, you don't disappoint them. You don't let people down.
Wow,
No
that's
pressure.
no pressure then, no pressure at all. I think you might have been using some selective reading of the comments there. I don't remember any comments complimenting my
Me encanta el
amazing joke.
chiste.
But I'm glad you like them. So yeah, I have a great one today, which is, what do you call a fish without eyes?
Without eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, is it a blind fish or something like that?
No, it's a
Ah, the
there we
letter I.
go. Yeah. So I actually would like your help, Lewis, because this is an English teacher structure, and I have to admit, I always get these mixed up. Homonym, homophone. I believe homonym is the same pronunciation with a different spelling, which is the reason for this joke. Obviously, Lewis even gave us an example without eyes, and I don't really want to say yes because not technically this eye, but the letter I. A fish without eyes, the letter I. Yeah. So it's a homonym, right? It's not, and then a homophone is the different pronunciation but same spelling.
Hmm. I think so. To be honest, I get mixed up. I get confused with these words as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take your word for it. I'm going to
Yeah.
believe that you are correct because, like I said, I get mixed up, meaning I get confused between these words as well. But no,
Yeah.
mini round of applause for that
Thank you.
stick little play on words.
Yeah, fantastic use of the homonyms again. We think it's that word. But yeah, perfect. That's one of my favorite jokes. I love that one.
Oh, beautiful. Now, from there, like we did last week, we're going to do a bit of a ranking. And we're going to go over, repasar, to review our favorite subjects at school. And then we'll move on to the ones that we hated, our least favorite subjects at school. So, if you are watching this, you will now be able to see a lovely little image with both of our names, which says asignaturas favoritas en el colegio. And remember that asignatura is a false friend as well. You don't say signatures because a signature is una firma. So remember, asignatura is a subject. You study different subjects at school. Well, Chris, do you want to tell us one of your favorite subjects at school?
So, well, I'll start with my third favorite subject, which was English Lit. Or for anyone who doesn't understand lit, this is I think the Americans use this shorthand as well. It's short for literature, English literature. So I loved this. I loved English literature because I didn't really enjoy the Shakespeare part. As Lewis, as you know, every child in the United Kingdom learns about Shakespeare. How many Shakespeare plays have you studied in your academic life?
Honestly, I think this is where the selective memory comes back because English literature, difficult pronunciation, by the way, it's not literature, but rather literature, kind of like temperature.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that many. I remember Macbeth, I think, but oh, personally, I wasn't a fan of English literature, and I've never really been much of a bookworm. So I've never been
Okay.
someone who's that into reading, which is funny and doesn't really make sense because I'm an English teacher nowadays. But hey, for some reason, I've never been into English literature. But
So I agree with you. The Shakespeare plays were difficult, but I was very lucky in English literature to also study Mary Shelley Frankenstein, Bram Stoker Dracula. So all of these Gothic novels. And that was, sorry, those books were really, really interesting to study the Gothic genre, which is género, with a very difficult pronunciation in English. We pretend like we're French and we say genre. So yeah, that was really interesting for me. More the Frankenstein, Dracula, Shakespeare was unfortunately included in the subject, but luckily we had some really good books which we got to study as well. So yeah, my number three, my third most favorite subject at school was English Lit or English literature.
oh, fantastic. Just going back to this common mistake and grammar I mentioned a minute ago. Me gustaría que me gustara. Difficult structure in Spanish. Like, and it's true. Me gustaría que me gustara la literatura en inglés. How would you say this in English? Have a think. 3, 2, 1. This would be I would like to like it. Again, showing you how simple English grammar can be compared to Spanish. So yeah, I would like English literature, but unfortunately, it's not my cup of tea, you know?
No,
It's not
to
mío.
to each their own. Cada persona quiere lo que quiera. No sé el español para esa frase en inglés, pero en inglés, to each his own. En español, cada persona para cada persona, or
I think you can use a nice idiom, which is para gustos los colores.
oh, okay, I've never heard that before. I like that. Para gustos los colores.
You can say
To
para
each
gustos
their
los
own.
colores, or you can also say cada uno a lo suyo, I think.
That's the one I've heard. Cada uno la suya. Yeah, I've heard that one.
To each their own, or also each to their own. We can use both
Yes.
of them. Um, Awesome. Let's move on to my third favorite. And honestly, this one was hard to come up with. It was hard to think of because, well, I've got a map behind me, so maybe that gives you a clue at what I like about geography. But I remember looking at maps, and also because of our interest in football, I think you hear about different countries and flags a lot more, different cities. And because I love travel as well, I remember thinking, oh, geography is so cool because you learn all about capital cities, you learn about rivers, you learn where different places are in the world. And to be honest, I didn't do geography in my A levels, and A levels in the UK is like bachillerato. So I didn't choose to study it further, but I've always loved maps. And I think that's the reason why when you asked me, Lewis, tell me your top 3 subjects, I was like, um, panic mode, geography.
Just the first one that popped into your head. Yeah.
Great. Were you also a fan of geography or not so much?
Not so much. I don't want to talk too much about it because, as you mentioned, later we're going to talk about our 3 least favorite subjects.
Uh-oh.
So I think I'll hold my tongue for now, and then we'll talk about it later.
Each to their own, you know? Each to their own.
I think what you said about the maps is very interesting because for any of our listeners that don't know, Lewis and myself are both massive Lord of the Rings fans, and I love the maps in Lord of the Rings, the maps of Middle Earth. I find them fascinating to look at.
I agree 100%. And you know, one ring to rule them all,
Yeah,
one ring to bind them.
and in the darkness, bind them.
Something like that, wasn't it? I
Something.
think you
Yeah,
know
I
it
always
better than
forget the
me.
last line. You stole the 2 most common lines and left me with the difficult one to remember. But well played.
Now,
Well,
anyway, tell us about your second favorite one. Here I can see it's media studies.
yeah. So this was this was a really interesting subject. This only became available in years 10 and 11, which would be the cuarto de eso y quinto de eso. I think it's from ages 14 to 16, like the last 2 years before bachillerato, before A levels. So this was an optional course which we were allowed to choose, and it was all about studying the media, the gender representation in movies. Me and my friends even made an introduction to a horror film as part of one of our projects. So we were using video cameras, writing scripts, and editing. So it was a really fun subject. And I've spoken to many English people, and I think this was a very niche subject. Nicho. I think my school was one of the only schools in the UK to provide a course, media studies. But I loved it. Yeah, we watched a lot of films and then obviously spoke about them, but we got to watch the films. Blade Runner, we studied Blade Runner, which was great. So yeah, media studies. I don't know, Lewis, if you had media studies on your curriculum.
I think we did. I think it was an option, but it might have just been an option, as you said, in year 10 or year 11. And I didn't choose to do it. And now, in hindsight, if I could go back in time, maybe it would be a good idea because it's relevant to what both of us do now. So, yeah, in hindsight, like a todo pasado, if I had known, it would have been a great choice. But no, I never studied it. So I guess I missed out.
It was a lot of fun. I think somewhere buried in my laptop's folders and stuff like that, I think I still have that horror movie intro. I played the villain where I would hide behind doors or very stereotypical horror movie tropes. A trope like a very, I have no idea the Spanish, ni idea cómo se dice trope in español. But the things that you often see are, un ejemplo, an action movie trope, a car chase. Es algo muy común que lo veas en películas de acción. It's a action movie trope. So yeah, horror movie trope, standing behind windows, yeah, behind doors, things like that. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, I want to see this little clip. So if you do ever find it, then please share it with me.
I will do. It's called The Unseen. I remember the title, The Unseen.
You remember it like it was yesterday. No,
When in reality it was 20 years ago. But yeah,
time flies. Time
it
flies.
does. So what about your number two, Lewis? What was your second favorite?
Well, I've always been curious about languages, more so than my own language. As you can see that I wasn't that into English or English literature, but I was always really, really curious about Spanish. So that's why I have chosen Spanish as my second most, most loved subject back at school. And I tell this story a few times that, of course, most people didn't like languages at all. So I was a little bit of an exception. And
Nerd.
whilst
Yeah.
I was a nerd, I was a geek, not a freak, but I was a geek. I was a nerd because I always found Spanish like a fun way of like acting and being a bit goofy. And I always thought, well, I might go on holiday to Spain or I might go traveling in South America. So I was always really, really intrigued by the possibility of me almost changing my personality to learn another language and then have this superpower essentially of being able to communicate with other people. And I think at the age of 14, 15, I'd already almost made my mind up that I wanted to live abroad at some point, and I always thought that Spain or Central or South America would be great options. So that's why I guess I was more motivated, and I remember putting on an accent to really, really over exaggerate all of the sounds and having fun. So it was almost like a break, I suppose. And my Spanish wasn't great at the time because we only had 1 or 2 hours per week. So it wasn't enough to get good. But I always had fun. And that was the important thing. And I guess the reason why I decided to continue with Spanish at university and now in adulthood.
Yeah.
But what about you? Did you study any foreign languages at school? And did you learn any Spanish, for example?
So no, I was about to ask you if you had the same system which we had at my school, where French was the second language. Like I think nationally in the UK,
Mhm.
every British child our age had to learn French. However, if you were very good at French, you were then allowed to choose a second language, so Spanish or German. So lots of my friends did study Spanish, but alongside French. So I don't know if that was the same for you. You still had to study French and Spanish, or you were just studying Spanish?
At our school, we had the choice between, well, it was no choice with French. You had to do French until year 10 or something similar. It was compulsory at that point. And on top of that, you could choose one of Spanish or German. So I think most people at that time were more drawn to Spanish as a language than German. And I chose Spanish. And never studied any German at all. But most people, of course, they just treated it as like an hour off because they didn't really care. And they always assumed that they were never going to need to learn Spanish. So it was like, let's just mess around. Let's just
Yeah.
mess about, essentially.
So in my school, it was the year 7, the first year of secondary school. If you weren't very good at French, and I unfortunately was not very good at French, then we didn't even get the option. So I had to study double French for the next 4 years of secondary school. When my friends would study French and Spanish, I had to study French and more French. So yeah, I didn't really like my language classes that much because I think, like yourself, at a young age, I saw myself using Spanish more than French. And I remember asking my teachers, please, can I study Spanish? And they said, no, because your exam in French, you didn't pass. So you have to study double French. So yeah, I became one of those people that, as you mentioned, just messed around and did nothing in French classes. Yeah.
At least now you can look back on it and recognize, you admit that you messed around, you messed about.
And I
Unfortunately,
regret it because now I have French friends who I met in Mexico, and it's a little bit annoying that I can't speak to them in their native language. We can communicate in Spanish, we can communicate in English, but I feel bad that I can't communicate with them in their language. So I do regret not studying harder in my French classes.
perfect. I love the emphasis that you put on the verb there. So
The
regret
regrets not studying. Yeah,
ing.
not regrets not to study. No, no, no. Talking about common mistakes last week. Yeah, regrets to not study. No, regret not studying.
Exactly. Perfect. And related to that, if you do say, I regret to tell you, it's like saying, I'm sorry to tell you. So we can use regret plus to an infinitive, but it has a different meaning. It's used when basically you want to give someone bad news. I regret to tell you that you have failed the exam. Whereas I regret not studying Spanish, you're actually speaking about your regrets. That if you could go back in time, maybe you would do something different about it. But anyway, moving on to number one. What's this,
So,
Chris?
I mean, I think this was quite obvious. No, I'm pretty sure yours is also going to be the same. But yeah, oh, it is. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, PE for any listeners who, what the hell is PE? It's physical education. In the United States, they call it gym class. So I don't know about for you, Lewis, but for me, it was mainly playing football. There were other activities in PE, but it was mainly, for my memory, mainly remembers playing football. What about for you?
I mean, PE was just so good. The only downside is that then, like, I walked to school every day and I'd have to carry an extra bag, but hey, I can't complain too much. But
Yeah. Did you also call it a PE kit like we did in the south of England? Yeah. Did you bring your PE kit? Oh, I forgot my PE kit. Yeah, a PE kit.
no, 100%. We always took our PE kit, and usually I'd be playing football, a lot of rugby as well, because our school, they tried to put more emphasis on rugby. So we played football, footy. We played rugby. We played dodgeball on
Oh,
random
I love
occasions as
dodgeball.
well, which is just so fun. We did some athletics as well. And I've never been well, I said earlier that I've always been above average, but in terms of like cardio, I've always been pretty good. So, of course, if you're good at a subject, and if that is PE, then you love it even more. And
Yeah.
if you're good at sports at school, it does usually mean that you have some other advantages in terms of being a cool kid. So I think if you are athletic at school, usually you're a little bit more popular And yeah, again, as I said last week, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I was pretty popular at school, and this helped because I was good at PE. Did a similar thing happen with you?
100%. I hope none of my friends in Brighton are going to see this episode. But yeah, me and my group of friends were the skaters. So we weren't
Okay.
really popular. We weren't unpopular, but we weren't popular. But then there was myself and another friend in this group of skaters who also played on the football team. So we were known, but the rest of the friend group, like they weren't really that well known. But because we played football, even though we were the skaters with long hair, yeah, we were still quite popular just because we were on the football team.
Perfect. Now, let us know, listening, what was your favorite subject at school? And also, whilst you're at it, you can let us know your least favorite subject at school, because that's what we're going to move on to now, in particular, because we're slowly running out of time. You know, we can talk for England, and to
Yeah.
talk for England is a nice expression which basically means you can talk for ages. Very chatty. We are chatterboxes.
I love this expression because it's for any context that you can drink for England, meaning you're very good at drinking, or you could skip for England, meaning you're very good at skipping. It's a great expression. And yes, I just glanced at my watch, which is just to look very quickly. I glanced at my watch and realized, yeah, we're running out of time again.
So I'm maybe going to offend some people here. And I apologize in advance. But my third least favorite subject at school, and maybe it's higher, maybe it's my second or first, I'm not sure, but let's leave it as third, is, or at least was, religion. We actually called it RE, which was religious education. And yeah, it just felt like a waste of time to me. When I was at school, I didn't really believe in God at the time anyway. My mum is Christian and she goes to church every Sunday, and I was baptized. Well, actually, technically, I was christened, which is to baptize, but by like the Church of England, by in a Protestant way. So I had a religious upbringing, but I still didn't care about religion at school, and it seemed like a waste of time. I didn't feel like I was learning anything, and it just felt like, what am I doing here? What's the point? Like, I'm a bit cynical. Like, Chris, did you have a similar experience?
I did. I also want to quickly mention about the christening. You mentioned you were christened. I was also christened. I'm in Brighton at the moment visiting family, and you'll never guess what I had sitting right behind me is my teddy bear Buzz, who I received on my christening. So
Wow.
this bear was a present from my christening 35, 36 years ago, and he's still around. He's older than some of my students. So yeah, it's crazy you mentioned that you were christened because I was also christened and I have Buzz to prove it. Yeah, this is Buzz. So it was weird. He was literally sitting right behind me. And when you said it, I was like, oh, I've got to show these guys Buzz. I have to.
I mean, it sounds like you still have some kind of emotional connection, Buzz. So,
I
fair
do.
play.
He's been around the world with me. He's traveled to Mexico. He's lived in China. Everywhere I've gone, Buzz has come with me.
Oh, cute. Well,
It's crazy. Like, yeah, he's the same age as me. It's crazy. But anyway, sorry, back to your question. Yes, I think I won't say anything now, but I'll quickly mention something later because it is on my list as well. Yeah.
okay, you see, great minds think alike. We are on the same page in many ways, but not in
Yeah.
every way, as we see, because your third least favorite subject was geography?
Yes, I said that was perfect timing, how you were saying great minds think alike. As you clicked, and number three, geography came on the screen. Maybe this is selective memory, like you mentioned earlier, but I have no memories of studying maps or cities or countries. The memories I have in geography class was studying rocks. And before anyone says, yeah, that's geology, I know that's geology, but we didn't study geology. We didn't have it. We had geography class and we studied rocks and rock formation, sedentary rock, something else rock that I can't remember. So this is why it's my third least favorite. Is because my memory, I can only remember studying rock formations, and that was not fun. Yeah, basically, yeah.
I mean,
Am I remembering this? I mean, Lewis, you mentioned the maps and everything, but did you also study sedentary rocks and stuff like that in your geography classes?
we probably touched on it. We probably studied a little bit, just on the surface. But I don't think we ever actually went deep into the topic, uh, which is a relief because
Yeah.
if geography had been essentially geology, then I think I would have also put it down here. So maybe I had a nice teacher, or maybe
Yeah.
you just had somebody who was obsessed with rocks.
Yeah.
Something went wrong there.
I can still picture the textbook now in my mind. I can picture the different layers of rocks that were all labeled with arrows, just like a stereotypical school textbook. I can picture it right now. And it scares me. It brings back memories and nightmares of sitting for 1 hour studying rock formations. Yeah.
Ugh, horrible. So,
Let's move on to your number two because I'm getting flashbacks now. Yeah.
I mean, moving on to my number two is physics, because in general, science, it was always really, really complicated. It was really hard, and it forced me to actually think and actually do a lot of homework, which for most other subjects, I could kind of do the bare minimum and everything was all good. But with more technical subjects like physics, I remember racking my brain and kind of knuckling down, and really trying to study because I just didn't get a lot of things. It was so confusing. So I had to have some extra courses to be able to catch up to the level of the other students. It just wasn't a good match for me with
Yeah.
physics. And the same could be said about biology and chemistry, where all of these things, my brain just doesn't work in that way. So I throw in the towel. I give up. Me rindo. Tiro la toalla. I give up. It's just not for me at all.
I agree with you. It is very, very difficult and a lot of work and a lot of studying. As you mentioned, you really have to knuckle down and study a lot to stay with the class and not fall behind.
Absolutely. And just knuckle down. Of course, in English, we use knuckles. But in Spanish, you have a lovely similar expression, but with elbows, which is hincar los codos, which is essentially to work or study really hard. But let's keep going to the next one. Your second. Aha! Tell me
Yeah,
about it.
so as I mentioned, obviously I've chosen RE, which, as Lewis mentioned earlier, is religious education. It's religion. Again, I don't want to offend anyone. If you have a religion and you're a nice human being, then good on you. I don't care. Well done. If you're a nice human being, that's all that matters. I think the thing I didn't like about religious education, and maybe it was the same for you, it didn't feel like religious education. It felt like Christianity. I don't remember. Again, maybe this is selective memory, and I think for children now at school it has changed. But I don't remember learning about Islam or Judaism or Catholicism. You know, the Catholic religion, Catholicism. I don't remember learning about the differences. I remember learning about God and Christianity, and yeah, as you mentioned, I also didn't really believe in God even from a young age. So I just didn't really see the value of it. Yeah. But maybe if they had taught us different religions and the differences and the traditions, so we could be more respectful and these kind of things, maybe it would have been more interesting. But my selective memory was very Christianity focused.
Fantastic. All right. Well, given that we are a little bit pressed for time, let me show you both of our number one subjects that we hated the most at school. And I honestly didn't know that you had put maths, but I think I could kind of guess because we see eye to eye. We're on the same page with a lot of things, except perhaps geography.
Yeah.
Yeah, maths or math, as they would say in American English, for the same reasons why I struggled in physics and chemistry and biology. Maths, my brain just doesn't work like that. And I hear people saying that, oh, it's just logical, you know? You don't have to do a lot of studying. You either get it or you don't get it. Well, my response to that is, I don't get it.
Yeah, simple.
Did you get it? Was that the reason why you've chosen it as your worst subject as well?
Exactly the same. Just as you mentioned earlier, needing a private tutor, needing extra classes to not fall behind, I needed a private tutor for maths. More specifically, the advanced maths that we never use, trigonometry, pi, all of algebra, that type of maths, which was very, very advanced. No, I really struggled with, and we don't need it. Basic math, multiplication, I didn't like it, but at least it was logical and it made sense. But algebra and trigonometry, no, I hated it with a passion. Yeah.
Well, it is great that we see eye to eye. We are on the same page. We are on the same wavelength because maths was an absolute nightmare. Ugh.
Just speaking about the American math and the British maths, it's apparently, this is just a joke, by the way, I'm not being serious.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently, the reason in British English it's maths is because we learn more than one sum.
Dun-dun-dun.
And any American viewers, I'm very, very sorry. You're very nice people, but we need to make jokes.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, on that note, let's call it a day. Let's finish off with this week's podcast because I've got a class. I imagine you've got a class. And I hope you enjoyed this chat all about school, using some different vocabulary, some expressions, a little bit of grammar, common mistakes. If you have any suggestions for upcoming subjects, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. Right, Chris?
Exactly. And as Lewis mentioned earlier, please let us know your favorite subjects, your least favorite subjects. And if you have any questions about any of the vocabulary we've been using, please don't be shy. Let us know in the comments so we can help you learn some more vocabulary.
As I say, every day is a school day. Every
Every
day
day is
you
a school
learn
day.
something new. So thank you, everybody, and see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Ciao.